Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So today we shall begin with the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, the first chapter is just Arjuna talking, right? Mostly it's Arjuna talking. So we won't do verse by verse as far as the first chapter is concerned. We will do the summary of the entire first chapter. The first chapter is called as Arjuna Vishada Yoga, the yoga of Arjuna's despondency. Every chapter will be called as yoga. Yoga comes from the root yuj. Yuj means to unite. The idea presented in Vedanta, especially Advaita Vedanta philosophy, is that each one of us are essentially divine. The truth or reality, what we call as Atman, Brahman. So you are essentially Atma, Brahman. And today you do not know that you are Atma, Brahman, and hence you have imagined yourself to be this limited individual which has been given a certain name, right? So you think you are this name, form, etc. So knowing this knowledge, gaining this knowledge and uniting back with your real nature is the ultimate purpose of life presented by Vedanta, right? So every chapter is called as yoga, the yoga of Arjuna Vishada Yoga, means the yoga of Arjuna's despondency. How in this chapter Arjuna comes to the battlefield completely ready to face the challenges but succumbs to his emotions and fails is presented here. The state of Arjuna's mind, how he fell down. And then in the second chapter, Sankhya Yoga, the yoga of knowledge, is given, where Sri Krishna gives the knowledge and resurrects Arjuna, makes him capable of facing these challenges and succeed. That's the thought flow. So this chapter has 47 shlokas. The entire Bhagavad Gita has 701 shlokas. And this chapter has 47 shlokas. And each of this chapter is divided into subtopics by Swamiji. Through his research, what Swamiji has done is, he's divided every chapter into subtopics so that we get the entire thought flow. That's the idea. To be able to see the entire thought flow of the Gita, these subtopics are given. Similarly, if you see these chapters also, it is not as though, during the conversation between Arjuna and Sri Krishna, they said, okay, now Sri Krishna says, now first chapter is over, now let's go on to the second chapter. It's not like that, right? There has been a conversation between Sri Krishna and Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which sage Vyasa, through his poetic license, has presented in this format. Are you with me? So, and then he has split it into 18 chapters. And further that has been split into different topics by Swamiji. This is for us to entirely capture the thought flow. That's the idea. So that we get the entire picture properly in order. So now this 47 shlokas are divided into 6 topics by Swamiji here. The very first topic is just one shloka, the first shloka. It's called Dhritarashtra's question to Sanjaya. The chapter begins with King Dhritarashtra, the father of Kauravas, right? Dhritarashtra has 100 children. They are Kauravas. And they are waging the war against their cousins, Pandavas, who are children of Pandu, Dhritarashtra's brother. Hence they are called as Pandavas. Technically speaking, both of them belong to the same Kuru clan, right? So 100 children of Dhritarashtra are called as Kauravas, and 5 children of Pandu are called Pandavas. So this war is basically between the cousins. Kauravas represents the evil propensities in us, and the Pandavas represent the good propensities in us. So this war is basically against righteous versus unrighteous. How, with the help of divinity and the knowledge, the Pandavas, the righteous, conquers over the unrighteous. That is the entire philosophy. So now the first topic is the first shloka. King Dhritarashtra questions Sanjaya. King Dhritarashtra is a blind person. He could not see what is happening on the battlefield miles away, right? So Sanjaya, his charioteer, has been given the power to see what is happening on the battlefield, though sitting miles away, by sage Vyasa. So King Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjaya. That's the first topic. Dhritarashtra's question to Sanjaya. The second topic is Duryodhana betrays his vanity and fear. Verse 2 to 11. From verse number 2 to 11, the topic is Duryodhana betrays his vanity and fear. See, when Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjaya what is happening on the battlefield, then Sanjaya is telling that Duryodhana walked up to his guru, Dronacharya, and started talking. While talking, he talks as if he is very confident, but his words expose his inner insecurity, fear, his ego. That is what he is talking about. From verse 2 to 11, Duryodhana betrays his vanity and fear. And then verse 12 to 19 is the third topic. Sound of conscience terrifies Kauravas. After Duryodhana spoke, listening to that, Bhishma Pitamaha, who is the commander-in-chief of Kaurava army, declares the war by blowing his conch. Right? And then all the others start blowing their conches, and then the war begins. Right? They're declaring the beginning of the war. And here he says, sound of conches terrifies Kauravas. That's the topic. Though the conches are being blown on both sides, Kauravas are terrified. Why it is so and all that we'll see as we proceed. But the topic is, sound of conches terrifies Kauravas, 12 to 19. And the fourth topic is from 20 to 30, emotions overpower Arjuna. Now, what happens is, when they declare the war, Arjuna asks Sri Krishna, right? I would like to see who all have come to fight. Please take and place the chariot at the right place in between both the armies. And then Sri Krishna places the chariot, because Sri Krishna is the charioteer of Arjuna. So he places the chariot right in between the armies, and then Arjuna starts seeing all these people and start becoming emotional, and he allows his emotions to overpower him. That's what this topic talks about. 20 to 30, emotions overpower Arjuna. Then 31 to 39, the fifth topic, Arjuna tries to justify his false vairagya. Once he allows his emotions to take over, vairagya means renunciation. Once he allows his emotions to take over his personality, he is not able to face the challenge. He succumbs to his emotions. He wants to withdraw, right? And then he starts trying to justify his stance, wanting to withdraw. He just goes on giving so-called logic. There is no logic or reason in what he speaks. His emotions take over, he could not function. So this topic is where Arjuna tries to justify his false vairagya. False vairagya means false renunciation, not true renunciation. And then the last topic, sixth topic, from verse 40 to 47. Confounded and distressed. Who? Arjuna. Confounded and distressed, Arjuna collapses on the battlefield. See, when your emotions take over, right, you cannot think properly. If you cannot think properly, you cannot act properly. So this shows the condition of Arjuna who is completely stressed. Right? So, having completely become stressed, he becomes incapable to act. And then he stops. That's how this chapter ends. So, this is the topics, this is the thought flow. Now, we can continue elaborating that. Now, the first shloka is Dhritarashtra asking Sanjaya. And this is a conversation going on, which is written here, right? It's not written by Sri Krishna. The conversation is happening between Sri Krishna and Arjuna, and that has been written down by sage Vyasa, right? Presented by sage Vyasa. So therefore he first says Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Means what? Dhritarashtra said. To whom? To Sanjaya. Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kima Kurvata Sanjaya. That is the first shloka. Bhagavad Gita begins with the word Dharma. Don't say Dhritarashtra. Because it's a Dhritarashtra Uvacha. So you should not think that Bhagavad Gita begins with a name Dhritarashtra. It is just saying Dhritarashtra said. And how does it begin? Dharma. The first word is Dharma. The word Dharma has too many meanings. Dharma could mean values, higher values. Dharma could mean righteousness. Dharma can mean peace. Dharma can mean nature. Right? So, first word of the Bhagavad Gita is what? Dharma. Your life should be based on values, principles, righteousness. Only then it will be peaceful. Right? It is for our good that we have to be on the side of righteousness. Are you with me? The moment you move away from righteousness towards unrighteousness, righteousness, unrighteousness, look at it from a different angle. From the totality point of view, you should see the whole life, not from selfish angle. Right? So what happens is, we identifying with our ego, limited self, very often start viewing it egoistically. Then we become unrighteous. We think the world is there to cater to us, rather than we thinking that we are part of this world from the egoistic angle, from the ego point of view. We need to start contributing for the total. Are you with me? So when we identify with righteousness, we will be peaceful. So, Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre. Kurukshetra is the name of the battlefield. And it is called as Dharmakshetra. Why? Because the Kshatriyas on the battlefield go and do their karma, their actions, their dharma. Dharma of sugar is sweetness. Dharma of bitter gourd is bitterness. Isn't it? Similarly, dharma of a kshatriya, warrior, is to fight and defend his country. Right? Defend righteousness, defend his country. These are his dharma. So they are going and performing their dharma on the battlefield. It's called Dharma Kshetra, where they are doing their duties. Are you with me? So Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta Yuyutsavaha, Pandava and Kauravas, he says. Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta Yuyutsavaha means what? Assembled on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, what did sons of Pandu and mine do? That is the question. Right? That is what Sanjaya is asked by Dhritarashtra. What happened between my children and Pandu's children? Who is Pandu? Dhritarashtra's own brother. Since Dhritarashtra was blind, they coronated Pandu, who is younger to Dhritarashtra, to rule. And when he died in between, and his son Yudhishthira has not grown up to the age where he can be coronated, Dhritarashtra temporarily given the charge temporarily, right? And when his brother has died, he should look at his brother's children also as his children. But Dhritarashtra was attached to his children, selfish. So he says, what happened between my children and Pandu's children? Right? Between my children and my brother's children. So there is no identification. There is no oneness. There is only attachment from the side of Dhritarashtra, which is symbolically presented as king is blind. Attachment is blind. In fact, what happens in life is, most of us take attachment to be love. Love as attachment. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita later on, he talks about sattvic, rajasic, tamasic buddhi or intellect. Tamasic intellect thinks righteousness as unrighteousness and unrighteousness as righteousness. Love as attachment and attachment as love. Attachment is what? Nothing but selfish love. Concentrated love. Selfish love. Right? So Dhritarashtra is attached to his children, Kauravas. So he is asking Sanjay, is curious to know what is happening between his children and Pandu's children. That is how the Gita starts. So the word with which the Gita starts is what? Dharma. Here there is indication to all of us that we should at any point in time in life adhere to dharma, not become selfish. The moment we become selfish, our life, we should be peaceful, becomes agitated, disturbed. From P-E-A-C-E, it becomes P-I-E-C-E-S. From peace to pieces. Right? We become disintegrated. We become disturbed. That's all he's saying. So, due to the attachment, due to the jealousy of Duryodhana and greed, etc., they had to wage this war. And therefore, they lost the peace. The land of peace has now become warring land. And this is also symbolic. Our mind, which should be peaceful, has now become disturbed. And this is because of falling from dharma to attachment, jealousy, etc. So, dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha Pandava and Kaurava. He is saying, Kima kurvata Sanjaya. What happened between Pandavas and Kauravas? This is how the Gita starts. And then the second topic. The first topic is over. Second topic is what? Duryodhana betrays his vanity and fear. I told you, when Sanjaya starts talking to Dhritarashtra, he says Duryodhana walked up to his guru, Dronacharya, and started talking. Right? As if is so confident. But what happens is, when a person is highly selfish and egocentric, he or she will be agitated, disturbed. No selfish person can be happy. No unselfish person can be unhappy. This is a law. You can't change it, I can't change it. It's a law. That's how life is. Right? So, Duryodhana is a highly egoistic person and self-centered person, selfish person. Right? So, he has fear inside, but he talks as if he is very confident. He is not afraid, but his words expose him. He goes and talks as if, see this side who are all fighting for our side. See this side who are all fighting, etc., etc. He's talking, introducing both sides to Dronacharya, talking very confidently. But then, he, in the 11th verse, in the 10th verse, he says, their army means Pandava's army, protected by Bhima. protected by Bhima, he says, is paryaptam. Paryaptam means limited. Our army protected by Bhishma, the great grandfather, right? Bhishma Pitamaha. Our army protected by Bhishma is aparyaptam. Aparyaptam means unlimited. See, Kaurava army was more in number compared to Pandava army. I think Kaurava army was 11 Akshavanis and Pandava army was 7 Akshavanis, battalions. Right? In terms of number of people, there were more in Kaurava army. They were great warriors. So, Duryodhana is saying, our army protected by Bhishma is aparyaptam. Means what? Unlimited. Their army protected by Bhima is paryaptam. But in Sanskrit, these words also have different meanings. Paryaptam means enough. Aparyaptam means not enough. One meaning is aparyaptam means unlimited. Other meaning is not enough. Paryaptam, one meaning is enough. Other meaning is limited. So, it appears as if Duryodhana is saying, their army protected by Bhima is limited. Our army protected by Bhishma is unlimited. So, he is confident. But actually, what is happening is, he is saying, though their army, which is protected by Bhima, is limited, it is enough. Our army, though protected by Bhishma, which is unlimited, is not enough. That is why this topic is called Duryodhana betrays his vanity and fear. His vanity and fear is exposed. Now, see, whenever you have that selfishness, then you will be insecure. Fear comes when there is otherness. Fear comes due to certain reasons, like ignorance. Right? If you are asked to walk in the dark, you are scared because you don't know what is there. Right? So there is fear. Then fear comes due to otherness. When you are in India, you have oneness. We are all Indians. Not much fear. When you go to some other country, right? When you see a different person with different build, there is fear. You are amongst different crowd. When there is otherness within, there is fear. And fear also comes when you have destructive nature. When you have constructive nature, there is no fear. But when you have destructive nature, there is fear. Right? See, a lizard on the wall, if you tap on the table over here, it will run. Because the lizard is constantly destroying and surviving. There is a cow sitting down. You go closer, it is not disturbed. You understand? So when the inner personality is constructive, there is no fear. When the inner personality is destructive, there is fear. So Duryodhana is destructive in nature and he has this otherness. He could not see the Pandavas as his own. He has that otherness. So there is fear. You understand? And that fear shows when he talks. So he says, even though they are less in number, it is enough. Even though we are more in number, it is not enough. That is the fear. Are you with me? Now, see, he is saying our army protected by Bhishma. True, because Bhishma was the commander-in-chief of Kaurava army. Isn't it? Bhishma was the commander-in-chief of Kaurava army. But he says, their army protected by Bhima. Bhima is not the commander-in-chief of Pandava army. Who was the commander-in-chief of Pandava army? Drishtadyumna. Drishtadyumna was the commander-in-chief. You should have either said Drishtadyumna, protected by him. Or he should say Arjuna. Right? Because he is the main person. Or he should have said Sri Krishna. But he is saying Bhima. Now, very interesting. See, a war comes to an end only when the king is captured or killed. Isn't it? Only when the king is captured or killed. Am I right? Now, on the battle, in Mahabharata battle, they had an agreement. Equals will fight amongst equals. Duryodhana was good in mace fighting. So, he will fight against Bhima. Right? And only when Duryodhana is captured, though Dhritarashtra is the king, now Duryodhana is the one who is fighting on the battlefield as the king. Right? So only when they capture or kill Duryodhana, the war is over. So Duryodhana is going to fight against whom? Bhima. Right? So he says, their army protected by Bhima. This is one way of looking at it. Other is, in Vishnu Sahasranama, if I am right, Nama number 948 or 958, these are 1000 namas of Lord Vishnu. Right? One of the namas, one of the names of Lord Vishnu, there is Bhima. One is terrible. Bhima means terrible. He is terrible to his enemies. Right? So Sri Krishna is an avatar of Lord Vishnu. So Sri Krishna's name is also Bhima. So you can understand it as Bhima means Sri Krishna, protecting their army. And their army is enough, though it is limited, because Dharma is on their side. Our army, though we have unlimited soldiers, it is not enough. Why? Because Dharma is not on our side. That is why fear. See, when you are saying lies, then you will be scared, because you may be exposed. Right? Supposing I am repeating somebody else's thought today. It's borrowed knowledge. Then I will have fear, because if you question, I won't be able to answer. But if it's my own knowledge, which is coming through original thinking, then I will be able to face any questions. There won't be fear. Are you with me? So when there is dependence, there will be fear. When there is ignorance, there will be fear. When there is otherness, there will be fear. When I am unrighteous, there will be fear. And all this is there in Duryodhana. Therefore, he is terrified. And seeing the condition of Duryodhana, Bhishma, the commander-in-chief, wants to inspire everyone and declare the war. And he takes up his conch and blows the conch and says, let's begin the war. Right? Now, what is interesting to note here is, who is beginning the war? Kauravas. In fact, even before coming to the battlefield, the Pandava side tried their best to avert the war. Unnecessarily, why we need to go to the war and kill so many people, etc., etc. So they said, let's not fight. They tried their best. Sama, Dhana, Bheda. Then only finally Danda. Sama, Dhana, Bheda. Sama means discussions. First they went for discussions. Duryodhana said, nothing doing. I won't budge. Right? Then Dhanam. Yudhishthira was ready to settle for 5 villages. He said, just give us 5 villages. We can stop this war. We don't have to go to war. Duryodhana said, I will not part with even a land which is of the size of the needle's tip. So Dhanam, Sama Dhana. Bheda. In politics, they divide the opposition to avoid war, for example. Avoid confusion, war. To make the opposition weak. So what happened is, they tried their best to tell Karna, who is on the Kaurava side, actually is a eldest of the Pandavas. Right? Is their elder brother. But Karna doesn't know, they don't know. So they went and told Karna that you are actually the eldest of the Pandavas, come this side. But Karna said, nothing doing, I won't come. I have to fight on the Duryodhana side. Right? So they could not succeed in dividing. Sama failed, Dhanam failed, Vedam failed. Then what's the only option? Danda, which is war. And that war was also declared by Kauravas. Here also, first who blew the conch? Bhishma. Bhishma Pitamaha. the commander-in-chief of Kaurava army, right? As soon as he blew the conch, Pandavas responded. Sri Krishna blew his conch, then Arjuna blew his conch. The war is declared to begin, right? Now what we need to understand is, Shakespeare says, beware of entrance to a quarrel. Beware of entrance to a quarrel. Being in beareth that thy enemy beware of thee. Do not enter into quarrel, arguments, war, etc. But don't be a coward. Once the war is thrust on you, right, you face the challenges and make the enemy fear and run away. Beware of entrance to a quarrel. Being in beareth that thy enemy beware of thee. So a lot of people accuse Sri Krishna, or Sri Krishna unnecessarily encouraged Arjuna and Pandavas to fight and killed so many people. What kind of person is he, etc. Please understand, they tried their best to avert the war. They are not warmongers. At the same time, they are not afraid of war. Understand? You should neither be a warmonger nor be coward. When the situation confronts, you need to face the challenges of life, not run away. Right? So, since they declared the war, they accepted it. So that is the third topic. Sound of conches terrifies Kauravas because they are selfish, because there is no dharma. You understand? Each one is fighting for some other reason, not for dharma. Right? So therefore, they are terrified. Pandavas are not terrified. Why? Because dharma is on their side. See, when you are inspired for a cause and function, there is tremendous energy. But when you are functioning selfishly, there is not much energy. Even little bit energy that you have gets obstructed when you find that you may not be able to achieve the results. As long as the result is promising, you may be looking forward for it. But when there are obstructions for the results, you may a little bit become jittery, So therefore, whereas when you're fighting for a cause, you are not fighting for any personal reasons. So you go beyond your body, mind and selfishness, intellect, and you do your work. So here, sound of conches terrifies Kauravas, not Pandavas. 12 to 19. And then Arjuna is telling Sri Krishna, his charioteer, Senayoru bhayor madhye ratam stapayame achyuta. Oh Achyuta. Achyuta is another name of Sri Krishna. Achyuta means one who has never fallen. One who has never fallen. That is the name of Sri Krishna, Achyuta. See, a man of perfection, a person who's reached enlightenment, who's enlightened, who's realized the self, who becomes completely aware, never falls from that awareness. Even though they may be into all kinds of activities in the world, they never fall from the awareness that they are supreme divinity. In our case, even though our essential nature is divinity, we are not aware of it all the time. Whereas in the case of a Mahatma, enlightened person, aware of the fact that they are divinity, reality, 24/7, 365 days. That is why they are called as Sthita Prajna. Nyaha means one who knows, knowledgeable person. Nyaha means one who knows, knowledgeable person. Prajna means one who knows well. Prajna means one who knows well. Sthita Prajna means, Sthira Prajna means one who knows very well, steadily at all times. It's called Sthita Prajna. So, a person who's reached that level of awareness never falls. That is Sri Krishna. So, Arjuna is addressing Sri Krishna as Achyuta and is telling him, Senayoru bhayor madhye ratam stapayame Achyuta. Take my chariot and place it in between both the armies so that I could see who all have come to fight. He probably wanted to do SWOT analysis. Strength, weakness, opportunities, threat, etc. He wanted to analyze maybe. He says, I would like to see who will have come to fight. So take the chariot and place it in between both the armies. He says that to Sri Krishna, his charioteer. And Sri Krishna takes the chariot and places it right in between both the armies, exactly in front of Bhishma and Drona. Indirect education has begun. Sri Krishna is still not become Guru here. You become Guru only when there is a Shishya coming to you. Till then you are not a Guru. Arjuna is not now talking as Shishya. Only in the second chapter he becomes Shishya. Here Arjuna is only a friend of Krishna. So he is telling his charioteer, his friend Krishna, take the chariot and place it in between both the armies. And what did Krishna do? He places it in between both the armies, right in front of Bhishma and Drona, educating Arjuna indirectly. What is the education? See, Bhishma and Drona, they are not there because they agree with Duryodhana. They are there because they have to do their duty. See, when the war is declared by the king, as soldiers you have to go and fight. Whether or not you agree with it or not. Are you with me? So, they are there doing their duty. You also, Arjuna, follow them and do your duty. Don't get involved. But unfortunately, what happens is Arjuna gets involved. And Sri Krishna knows very well that Arjuna is very well qualified externally. He has tremendous skill in the art of archery. He has got tremendous experience in the warfare. Everything is 100, 100, 100. But his inside, the mind, should be strong, isn't it? दूसरों को जय से पहले खुद को जय करे. That khud, the inside, is it strong? Sri Krishna wanted to test that. Many of us have qualified externally. You understand? Degree holders, postgraduates, PhDs, doctorates, this, that, so much wealth, etc., etc. But inside is terribly weak. What is other person thinking about me? Oh, inflation is rising. What will happen to me? So you are terrified of inflation. You are terrified of others' opinion about you. Isn't it? So what are all these things talking about? It is only telling that you are weak inside. So Arjuna only represents you and me, who are weak inside, but we have so many other kind of qualifications to camouflage that. You understand? So he wanted to test him and make him strong there. See, strength of a chain is its weakest link. If supposing a chain has all links made of steel, only one link is plastic. The strength of the chain is its weakest link, says the quotation. All the links may be steel, but one is plastic. That is enough. That is your real strength. Similarly, you may have all the experiences, all the skills, everything, but your inside is weak. That is enough. And that's what happened to Arjuna. So he wanted to make that link also steel. You understand? He wanted to first rehabilitate the inner personality, the inner wellness. So Bhagavad Gita is what? Nothing but inner wellness. Strengthens the personality within. So Arjuna, when he says this, Sri Krishna takes the chariot and places it there. And there Arjuna sees Bhishma, Drona, his cousins, his friends, everybody. He says, fathers, fathers-in-laws, each one is married to too many people, too many wives. So fathers-in-laws, fathers' friends, cousins, he is only seeing relatives there. See, there are three kinds of bhavas. One is called Shatru Bhava, other is called Mitru Bhava, and the third is called Sakshi Bhava. Attitude. Bhava means attitude. Looking at the opposition as enemy, that is Shatru Bhava. Other is looking at them as my relatives and friends, Mitru Bhava, which is the Bhava Arjuna is having. But on the battlefield, what attitude you should have? Sakshi Bhava, witness. See, supposing you are into a family business, right? Your father is the chairman, you are the managing director. You both are going in the same car to the office. Till you reach the factory gate, you are father and son. Once you have entered the factory, you are chairman and managing director. That objectivity you need to have. There you cannot say, oh, is my son and he is recommended a person, therefore I must somehow select him only. You cannot become emotional there, isn't it? So you got to understand that there you are playing a different role. On the battlefield you are supposed to have Sakshi Bhava. In life you are supposed to have Sakshi Bhava. But Arjuna becomes emotional. Oh, they are my relatives, they are my friends, my cousins. He becomes extremely emotional. This is very unfortunate. And then his emotions take over. And when emotions take over, what happens? You cannot think properly. When you cannot think properly, you cannot act properly. When you cannot act properly means what? You go to the maximum extent where you can go. You become completely incapable of functioning. That's exactly what happens to Arjuna. He gives all kinds of reasoning which are no reasoning at all. That's what he says. Emotions overpower Arjuna. Arjuna tries to justify his false vairagya. The fourth and fifth topic. See, as human beings, we should have emotions. If we do not have emotions, then we are like a piece of wood. Right? But we should have the emotions under our control. But if we become under emotions control, if emotions overpower us, if we allow emotions to override us, then we are like animals. If you don't have emotions, you are a piece of wood. If you have emotions and you succumb to emotions, you are an animal. If you have emotions, but you control, manage and direct your emotions, then you are a human being. You understand? So Arjuna succumbed to his emotions. He could not keep his emotions under check. So therefore what happened? He completely stressed. He explains his condition. In verse number 30 he says, Gandivam samsarate hastat tvak chaiva paridakhyate. Means what? Gandiva is the name of Arjuna's bow. He says Gandiva is slipping from my hands. Means what? He's sweating. Right? Tvak chaiva paridakhyate means my skin is burning. What are these? These are all symptoms of stress. Isn't it? See, when your mind is disturbed, your body develops these symptoms. So he says, I cannot stand on my legs. My feet has become weak. My hands have become slippery. My skin is burning. My mind is spinning, he says. Ramativa me manaha, he says. My mind is spinning. I'm having giddiness, he says. He's completely stressed. And when a person is stressed, he cannot see things clearly. So he will say all kinds of things to defend his situation, isn't it? He now wants to get out. He wants to extricate himself from this battlefield. So he comes up with all kinds of excuses. He says, I am not interested in the kingdom. Right? I am not interested in the kingdom. Even I am not interested in becoming the ruler of the three worlds. Why would I be interested in this kingdom? See, first of all, you are not coming to the battlefield to achieve your personal targets. You are on the battlefield to perform your duty. Right? Having performed your duty, from what comes out of it, you may achieve your personal targets. That's how your life should be. Mahatma Gandhi says, find the purpose in life, means will follow. Don't work for the means. Don't work for the desires. See, what is happening is, today we go to work, we go to school, we gain all the intelligence, we go to college, we gain all the intelligence, and then we go to work. For what purpose? To fulfill our desires. This is not the way to live. You understand? You, having gained the intelligence, you go to contribute for a larger purpose, for a larger cause. That's your duty. Your duty is to give now. Isn't it? First 20 to 25 years or 30 years when you're studying in school, college, and if you're doing up to doctorate, maybe 27, 30 years, you study. This 27, 30 years or 20 years to 30 years, you are only taking, you're not giving. And once you have taken, your entire life you are supposed to give back. You understand? You're supposed to give back. So, having strengthened yourself with the intelligence and intellect and everything, you go and contribute for the larger purpose. And when you contribute for the larger purpose, whatever comes out of it, with that you can fulfill your personal desires. Nothing wrong. That is how you live dharmically. You don't live just to fulfill your desires. So Arjuna is not there to firstly fulfill his desires. For him to say that I don't have desire to conquer the kingdom. It is not for conquering the kingdom. The kingdom has gone to the unrighteous persons. As a warrior, your duty is to fight and establish dharma. See, he's forgotten the basics. And then he talks all kinds of things. Understand? Not interested in the kingdom. And we were about to kill our relatives, our friends. It is pap. Killing is pap. That is Arjuna's belief. Most of our belief also is that. Now, I am not suggesting killing is good. Neither is Sri Krishna suggesting that. Are you with me? See, intention. What is the intention? There is no, Arjuna is not, or Sri Krishna is not a warmonger or a murderer interested in killing people. Isn't it? Duryodhana killed himself. Ravana killed himself by their own actions. See, in Vedanta we say, you are punished or rewarded by your actions, not for your actions. This is a very important thing you need to understand. You are punished or rewarded by your actions, not for your actions. Your own actions punish you or reward you. What goes around comes back. Isn't it? So, Ravana was killed by his own actions. In the exam, when they ask you who killed Ravana, you write Lord Ram. But philosophically, you understand that Ravana killed himself. Lord Rama is not a serial killer looking for going and killing people, right? So, therefore, your actions destroy you or make you. Isn't it? That is law of karma. We need to understand that. Our own actions make us or mar us. Nobody else. Our choices. So, you should not kill. Why do you have to think that you are killing? You are only an instrument in the hands of totality. Are you with me? See, when a judge passes the sentence in the court, after having heard the arguments on both sides, and he is thoroughly convinced by the, all the facts that is presented to the judge, he thinks this person has committed the murder. Right? He had all the intention to commit, etc., etc. The judge is thoroughly convinced. So then he passes the order. Hang him. Now, is judge committing a sin? Judge has no interest in either hanging him or not hanging him. He is only doing his duty. Are you with me? So when he says hang him, he is not going to be punished. He is not going to incur sin. Isn't it? So when a hangman is executing the orders of the judge, he is not committing sin. He is only doing his duty. Similarly, Arjuna is supposed to be like that and doing his duty, but he gets involved. He looks at it from the personal angle. That's the problem. All of us do that. All of us do that. Arjuna, like I told you, is only representing us. All of us do this mistake. We mix. Terribly we mix and get confused. We lack that objectivity. We lack that sakshi bhav. And then you start talking all kinds of logics and reason. You start justifying. See, a human being is made up of physical body, mind, intellect, enlivened by Atma. Okay. Body by itself does not act. It is made to act either by the mind or the intellect or the combination. Right? What drives the body to act is mind or the intellect or the combination. Now, ideally speaking, your intellect or the combination should drive you, not the mind. But most often, we allow our mind to drive our actions. We allow our emotions to drive our actions, not the buddhi, the thinking faculty. Very often. Isn't it? So, buddhi should drive the actions. So, when the mind says, I like this, do this, buddhi should say, listen, you may like it, but it is not good for you. Therefore, you should not do it, and it should not allow the body to do the action merely because you like it. Nothing wrong per se in likes and dislikes. But if it is not good for you, buddhi should objectively direct you not to go ahead and do that. Correct? But when the mind is very powerful and the intellect is weak, what happens is the mind keeps the intellect under hostage and says, tell me, give me some reasons as to how I can achieve this desire. Intellect is supposed to first analyze whether it is good. Only if it is good, it's supposed to tell you how to go about achieving it. But when the mind is too strong, what happens is, it keeps the intellect under hostage. Right? And then, intellect starts thinking as to how to help the mind to fulfill the desires, whether or not it's right or wrong. This is called justification. And very often, our buddhi is justifying our desires, justifying our laziness, justifying our procrastination, tamas and rajas. We lack that objectivity to see what is right in the context. And that's exactly what is happening here. He starts justifying his stance, false vairagya. See, there is desire, but a situation has happened that I am finding it difficult. You understand? Therefore, I say I am not interested in it. So many times it has happened. Some people, when they go through difficulties, they say, I am not interested in money, I am not interested in this, I am not interested in that. But when the difficulty is taken care of, then they'll say, will they say that I am not interested in money anymore? They want more. Isn't it? It is because of the difficulty, not because they are not interested. That is exactly what is happening to Arjuna. He is very much interested in the kingdom. You understand? He is a rajasic person, nothing wrong. He is not interested in somebody else's kingdom. He is interested in what belongs to them, so nothing wrong in that. But then he says, I am not interested in the kingdom. We are unnecessarily about to kill and murder. Luckily, I started thinking correctly. This is how he is talking. He is telling Krishna that luckily I started thinking correctly now. Otherwise, we both were about to commit sin, he said. And he gets into all kinds of things. On the battlefield, if we kill people, right, the men will be killed. And the men will be killed. There won't be anybody to do religious rites. And the women will have to be forced to marry in intercaste. And that will bring in more confusion. He starts talking all kinds of things like this. That's what happens in the end. Confounded and distressed, Arjuna collapses on the battlefield. He gives all kinds of logic which is no logic whatsoever. The basic is dharma has to be established. Righteousness has to be established. Right? In the society, when there is chaos, each one according to their nature have to contribute to bring in peace. Isn't it? Somebody is a Kshatriya, warrior. What he or she has to do, they have to do to bring in peace. Someone else is a doctor. He or she is supposed to do what they are supposed to do to bring in peace. Isn't it? Each one will have to do that. Getting confused and confounded. This is what is happening to Arjuna. All these are being discussed here. There is a lot more psychology in the first chapter than philosophy. You understand? So that is why here first chapter is interesting. And we don't go verse by verse, but we have to go through this summary for us to understand the background of the Bhagavad Gita before moving into actual Gita. Actual Gita starts from verse number 11, chapter 2. Right? Arjuna in fact becomes a disciple only in the second chapter, verse 7. Till then he doesn't surrender and become disciple. Till then Sri Krishna is not the Guru. So he is justifying there will be intercaste marriage, the women will be left high and dry, there won't be anybody to perform religious rites, therefore righteousness will be completely gone. Already righteousness is gone. You understand? What was the agreement? When Pandu died, Dhritarashtra was coronated only temporarily. Supposed to be given back to Yudhishthir. Right? And Duryodhana took it away forcefully through the game of dice. And then also he agreed 12 years they have to be in incognito. Sorry, not incognito. 12 years they have to be in the forest. 13th year they have to be incognito. And then if they come back, they will be given back the kingdom. But Duryodhana did not keep up his words. Every angle if you see, he broke the rules, he broke the laws. And he is the ruler now. So already unrighteousness has taken over. But Arjuna is arguing, if we fight, we kill, confusion of caste will be there, religious rights will be lost, women will be left alone, this thing, that thing, and there will be more unrighteousness, sin. Not realizing that already unrighteousness has taken over. Are you with me? This shows that Arjuna is completely confused. And then he collapses on the battlefield. He sits down saying, I will not fight. I will not fight means what? He has become completely incapable of fighting. This is what happens. Your body becomes completely incapable of facing the challenges of life when you are terribly stressed. This is what is happening. And it appears as if Arjuna is a great human being who did not want to kill people, and for the good of people he withdrew from the battle. He wanted to withdraw from the battle. As if he is having vairagya. See, the word vairagya is wrongly understood. Detachment. Detachment is the crux of spirituality. You understand? But it is not understood. That's the problem. Therefore, oh, Vedanta, Bhagavad Gita, you will become detached. I don't want to be detached. At this very young age, you want to go to Bhagavad Gita? Oh, you want to be detached. They think detachment is leaving everything and going away. That is not detachment. This is the detachment Arjuna wanted to practice. And Sri Krishna knows that that is not detachment. Therefore, he just keeps quiet. See, when the unwise speaks, the wise keeps quiet. There is no point talking. And you cannot have a conversation with a person who is closed. Josh Billing says, the trouble with most folks is not so much their ignorance, but their knowing so many things which ain't so. He puts knowing within inverted commas. The problem is not ignorance, the problem is knowledge. Now, Arjuna is not thinking that he doesn't know. Arjuna is thinking that he knows. Actually, Sri Krishna knows. Arjuna doesn't know, but Arjuna thinks that he knows. So how can there be a conversation? And he is going on giving logic and reason, justifying his stance. So Sri Krishna is just waiting for him to get exhausted, so that when he becomes available, then he can say something. You cannot talk to walls, isn't it? You have to wait. So Arjuna is not yet exhausted. He is going on talking. He just waits. And in the end, what happens? Arjuna gets completely exhausted and he says, I will not fight, and sits down. With that, this chapter ends. So this is the summary of chapter 1. Next week, we will begin chapter 2. And we will do the summary of first 10 shlokas of chapter 2 and then begin with first verse of the Gita, which is 11th verse of chapter 2. This we will do next week. Let's conclude now. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyairva Buddhyatmana va Prakrite Swabhavat Karomi Adhyad Sakalam Parasmahi Narayanayeti Samarpayami.